Olisia, why don't you take it away?
Okay, thanks, Zach. Thanks, Startup Coil. Thank you to the KIN. It's great to be here with you. So today we will be talking about using leadership psychology to overcome procrastination. I would love to have this be conversational, so we do have quite a bit of material to cover, and then would love to hear from you as well and your questions, etc. So let's get started. So like I mentioned, today we'll be discussing really two things, procrastination and then how to lead yourself with kindness. And this is for the conscientious professional and person, which is who we mainly have here. So to introduce myself a little bit, I'm Olisia. I'm a life and leadership coach. Formerly, I worked in management consulting for PricewaterhouseCoopers, where I worked for everything from nuclear power plants to hospitals to higher education systems. So all kinds of organizations, and working with leadership to usher in major change. So often like $40 million projects, and my role was to think about how do we usher in adoption. So how do we help people come along for the change so that they know what's coming and they're prepared to work in new ways. Now I work as a coach with individuals. So applying both my learnings from consulting as well as psychology, which I have a deep passion for. And some of the things I focus on are nervous system restoration, which is so foundational to well-being, as well as what I call applied self-love, kind self-leadership, and using really a breadth of modalities from all kinds of disciplines to be able to help people overcome the things that have happened to them, achieve post-traumatic growth, and also grow and achieve their goals, whatever it is that fulfills them. So let's get started by taking a deep breath together. So breathe in deep, and you can sigh it out. And I invite you to say a couple kind things to yourself as we get started. So thank yourself for bringing yourself here this morning, for getting ready, for coming here, for being a little social. Tell yourself how much you care about yourself. Just a little bit of kindness to get us started for the day. And let's talk about why that kindness is important. So who in the room has put something off ever? Maybe your taxes right now. So yeah, looks like quite a few of you. Well, you're not alone. One, there's all of us in the room. Charles Darwin actually apparently also procrastinated, so we're in good company, guys. He delayed publishing Origin of Species by 21 years due to like perfectionism and health issues and things like that. Actually the stress from that ended up causing him further health issues. But the work was well received, and we all know it now. And I kind of look at this as there's the personal and societal impact of, the field of science didn't have access to this like amazing theories and findings for 21 more years. So imagine all the stuff that could have happened. But on the other hand, he did publish, right? So imagine if he never published. Procrastination can go on forever. He procrastinated for 21 years, but it could have been his whole lifetime. So it's like, how lucky are we that at some point he said, okay, I'm ready to let this go out into the world. So what is procrastination really? So many experts and studies say that procrastination is really a nervous system response. It's a question of regulation, and it's often caused by anxiety, it's caused by stress. It's not laziness, but rather sometimes it can even be caring too much, so to say, And it can trigger different states in our nervous system. So for example, if a fight state gets triggered or is already existing in your nervous system, you may feel irritable when you think about doing the task and maybe tough to focus. If you're in a flight type of state, then you may distract yourself. If you are in freeze, you may feel immobilized and not be able to do something that you want to do. And you may be sitting there on the couch and being like, I can't get that glass of water even, what's going on? That's because your body may be in freeze. And then also, if you're in a state of fawn or people-pleasing, we may prioritize somebody else's needs above our own. So we may work on somebody else's projects, help someone, listen to our friend who has a problem, but then keep delaying that goal that we have. And the root is really not willpower, it is safety. And as we regulate the nervous system, motivation also returns. And the tool we'll be talking about today is one tool that helps with that. It's not the only way to regulate your nervous system, of course. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about why something like harsh self-talk that might also come up can really backfire. So whether it's harsh self-talk or it's stress caused by, when we imagine that negative outcome, you're not trying to do anything negative, but it does still cause a reaction in the body. So harsh self-talk can increase cortisol, which activates your freeze response potentially or your other nervous system responses, and then it's tougher to focus, and it reduces your long-term motivation. On the other hand, when we're in a state of compassion, we're more open, we're more creative, the nervous system is in a calm, regulated place, it's easier to focus, and the outcomes actually end up being better and more long-term sustainable, and it's so much better for our health as well. So wanted to give an example of a couple things that some more critical ways we may use to motivate ourselves versus the kinder ways. And I want you to notice how each one of these lands in your body. So we're going to notice how it feels. So if I say something like, and if you're saying this to yourself in your mind, this task is boring and mundane, you're about to do something, notice how that feels in your body, just that thought. I notice my shoulders are slumping, I'm kind of like rolling my eyes, don't want to do it. How does it feel for some of the rest of you? Same, okay. Okay, let's look at this task is fun and interesting. So just actually say that to yourself and notice how does that feel in your body. So if I notice for myself, my spine is now more stronger and more erect, and I feel more alert, more ready to take something on. All right, so look at that big difference. This was just one line that you said to yourself, right? And look at the change that it made. And I said this line to you, and it made a change in you. So we affect how we feel, we affect how others feel, and our health just by these one sentence that we say. So if we say, "You're behind again, what's wrong with you?" How do you feel? For me, I feel kind of contracted. I feel like I'm about to be beaten. What if we have a look at the same thing and instead you said to yourself, what support do you need to take one step forward? So yeah, this is how we move from stuck to self-directed, really. And kind self-leadership is really just, I see it as not something, I don't want to set this as another bar of perfectionism, right? Because we're trying to overcome perfectionism in a way, right? So the way that I generally do apply this in my life and have had awesome results, and it's so simple and quick, and I just do it in the moment when I need it. Okay, I'm trying to achieve X goal, and it's not happening, but I want to do the goal. The core skills that I see here is setting goals with care, motivating yourself, grace, forgiveness, rest. You may not achieve all of those goals. That's a reality, and that's fine, and we balance that. Meeting yourself where you are now, if you're exhausted and you're trying to do some huge project, may or may not happen, and you may need the rest more than you need to achieve the goal. So prioritizing is also really important for kindness. Then kindly guiding yourself forward, coming back after setbacks, and rewarding effort. And I wanted to give a client example on coming back after setbacks. I have a client and she wants to pass an exam, and she was delaying booking it for the longest time. And with this, she was able to book it. And she is used to failing exams and she doesn't want to take it for that reason. And we said, you're going to pass, and she is now saying that herself. And the thing is, even if she doesn't pass the first time, we already have a plan for how to handle failure. I think that that's really important too. It's how to handle the failure with kindness. Already preparing for, maybe it won't work out, but I'm gonna be there for myself. So that if she fails the exam this time, okay, it was another practice test, now she did it on the grounds, so she has even more information. Okay, we're just gonna book another one, and then she's going to do it again until she passes. So she will pass. I really hope she passes the first time. But even if she doesn't, it's already in the plan that that's not a deal breaker, right? It's not something that has to get her stuck again for years. Okay, if it takes twice, no problem, right? So how do we prepare for those setbacks in those ways is really important. So a little quote from Darwin. He said that in the long history of humankind and animal kind too, those who learn to collaborate and improvise most effectively have prevailed. There's this misconception that it's survival of the fittest and aggression gets us to our goals. To some extent it can, sure, but actually the species that survive are the adaptable and collaborative ones. Those are the people that survive, the species that survive. And so I believe the same actually applies inside. It's, to me, part of this is taking the different parts of us, like really seeing ourselves as the president or CEO of our own inner world and taking the different parts of us and giving them the support and the vision so that they can be successful. And a lot of this is on bridging the different parts of yourself, and this part is a little individual. Like, for example, I'm quite goal-oriented, and then I have a self-compassionate side. And at some point I took turns. I was like really into the goals, and then I was like, really into self-compassion, and like I did a lot, but letting go of the goals and just allowing my system to reset. Now it's about harmonizing the two, and that's where kindness meets for me, because it's setting a goal, but then still having the self-compassion to prioritize and to achieve it in a way that is sustainable. For another client of mine, she's balancing discipline and empathy because those are her strengths. So it's taking a strength or skill that you already have, and sometimes it's combining it with a kind of opposite or different skill that you have to create a little inner team so that now you have more flexibility in your system. A healthy system is a flexible system so that sometimes we apply rest and sometimes we apply work. Sometimes we apply discipline and sometimes we apply empathy, right? So by combining those different strengths within us, we end up with a much more robust inner system. So we have one more activity, and this one I'd like us to kind of workshop it together a little bit, like a brief thing where you get an opportunity to connect to your kind inner leader. So I invite you to think about a task that you're putting off. And then we can discuss with one or two people, we can take up how you might motivate yourself kindly to achieve that task. So I'll give you a minute to think about some tasks that you're putting off, and then if you'd like to discuss, then we can. Zach, yeah.
So part of what I do is science communication through our channel called Smarter with Science, and I've found I'm lately been kind of deprioritizing publishing. I guess is probably the way I put it as an excuse that I've got a bunch of other projects involved and client work to do. But really, yeah, there's some very interesting stuff we've recorded that I haven't published yet. I haven't completed the editing and publishing part of it. And yeah, that's what I've been putting off.
Okay. So when you think about that, what comes up for you? What doubts do you have or thoughts do you have that come up?
Sure. Couple of things. I think make it easy on myself by saying, this other stuff is more important. And I do believe underneath it is the anxiety about ever publishing things or speaking publicly. It's what if it's not well received, or what if I do all this effort and no one watches it, or what if they're just this is really boring.
Okay, thank you for sharing. That's vulnerable. Yeah. So I think that's relatable to all of us. What if I do something and it's not well received, or people find it boring? Yeah. And how do you feel when you think that?
Kind of resigned.
Resigned. Yeah. And then it makes sense that you don't want to do the tasks. Why would you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if we can test something a little bit different. Okay, so what if we test that somebody's going to find this really interesting?
Okay.
Can we test that thought?
Sure.
And how that lands for you?
Yeah, it's funny because I think the other talk is mostly illogical because a lot of these I already know. People have seen this conversation and found it interesting. So
Okay.
it's actually easier to envision it being a
Oh.
valuable
Okay.
thing for somebody to get to learn about.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. And so how do you feel with that? Like, because I want to see the actual impact.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, it has me looking at like what could I, like for example, I've got a video actually based on last week's talk on this stage about kind of using like cutting edge AI science for marine ecology.
Mm-hmm.
And I happen to know from people in the audience that they found a lot of it really interesting. And so what I'm thinking of right now is like how can I go in there and find 2 or 3 like areas of that I know somebody out there is going to definitely respond to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And do you have any blocks around that?
Not really.
Not really?
No.
Okay. Okay. And how long would it take?
Probably 20 or 30 minutes. I could get it at least some meaningful progress on that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. That doesn't sound... I know you have a very busy schedule, but you can probably fit that in.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So how might you kindly motivate yourself to do that?
I think it's as easy as just putting it on my calendar.
Okay.
30-minute
Mm-hmm.
block of where I just kind of commit to coming up with 3 really interesting segments.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so let's just take one moment to think about like when you're putting it on your calendar,
Mm-hmm.
how you might motivate yourself with kindness towards yourself.
Okay. Yeah, I would talk to myself in the terms of like this is an opportunity to like make someone say wow or think about something that they hadn't before,
Mm-hmm.
rather than this is go do work on your video editor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. When I heard this opportunity to make someone say wow, like I had an audible reaction, right? That just came out. So yeah, how does it feel in your body when you think about that?
It's I guess energizing, motivating.
Okay.
Like I'm glad I have
Mhm.
my laptop because I want to go do this.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay, great. Yeah. And then when it pops up on your calendar and maybe you have some other things to do or you're kind of tired, what's a way you can motivate yourself to do it then?
I liked in your example of like what support do you need?
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of giving myself permission to talk to myself first, and then when I do, to make it kind like that.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that feels like someone like reaching a hand out, or either to like help you up off the ground, or even just to like give you a high five. I don't know. Something about that works.
Okay. Okay, nice. Yeah, so do you feel like with this approach you might accomplish this task?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, you feel prepared?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Well, you can let me know if you need a little extra encouragement, but
Will do.
I think it'll be fun if you do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, just a little bit of nerdiness on the nervous system and how kind leadership impacts the nervous system. So, the foremost thing is that it reduces internal threat. So, if you're scared of yourself, because if you don't do something perfectly, you're going to be harsh with yourself. It may not even be conscious, but it could be happening in your subconscious, and you're constantly contracting. It can be really scary, and it can lead to you procrastinating or not doing tasks. Versus if we reduce that threat, if we know, oh, this is a safe environment for me, you're much more likely to experiment and have creative freedom and be able to do all these things you didn't even know that you'd ever have the courage to do. It also builds that sense of internal safety, like I just mentioned. It re-engages the prefrontal cortex. So if our system inside feels under threat, the prefrontal cortex is kind of not working as actively. But then once that is back online, your decision making, your planning comes back online, and so you're able to do more of that. It can support vagal tone and heart-brain coherence, depending on how you practice. And vagal tone is very important for mood and all kinds of nervous system regulation. It interrupts trauma-driven habits. So for example, if there are shame loops going on, by introducing this kindness, we interrupt that shame loop. And just a little bit more on the benefits is that You transform like inner pressure into now momentum. There's this freedom and expansiveness inside that makes it easier, like a path to move forward. There's also a huge shift between external motivation and internal motivation. As you are kind to yourself, you're accountable to yourself, you're just doing the task with kindness towards you, somehow the external validation becomes less important. It's now your relationship with yourself, and it's a nice, safe relationship. And so you're operating within that, and it makes you more resilient. So it's harder for somebody else to like knock you over, because you're like, well, I'm going to be nice to myself and keep going anyway. So I'm okay. And if somebody keeps knocking me over, okay, well, that's just not a person I'm going to do X with. And then you keep moving forward. So there are lots of benefits and lots of ways that this can help you on your path and your goals and your well-being as well. So yes, I will wrap it up here and give you the opportunity to ask any questions you may have, if we have any.
If you are trying to motivate others, I don't think it's enough to say, oh, you should be kind to yourself. Like how to make people hear you in terms of like, okay, this is working for me. You need to be kinder to yourself. But at the end of the day, it will be just your words to them. How do you convince other people that this is the right way to do? When you are leading the team, for example, and they're like not meeting the quotas or something like that, and you need to really motivate them. But what are the ways?
Awesome question. Thank you so much for asking. So the question is on how to motivate a team and motivate others. One, there's only so much we can do, right? So we'll keep that in mind, but let's talk about what you can do. One, when you practice this inside yourself, it flows naturally. You interact a little bit differently with others, and you can use, like, we're all people. It's kind of similar stuff, And so you can motivate them with kindness. And I'll give an example of like a very practical way that I would do that is to first explain to people like what's in it for them. Like talk to them like an equal. Like not even just for them. Like why are we doing this? So whether you're doing this with yourself or someone else, like why are we doing this, right? Like if I was to say why, like maybe you can think about why are you here at this talk, right? Why would you want to overcome procrastination? You may want to make money, but you may also want to make an impact in the world. You want to balance helping others and taking care of yourself, right? Similarly, your team with their quotas, there's a financial motivation there for them. Having worked in the corporate world, I know that it's something, but it's not enough. What else is this work doing in the world? I think is such a motivator as a leader to set a vision for the team. This is what we're doing, whether it's in the company or in the world, like this is what we're aligned behind. Let's say, I'm gonna make up what you do, okay? And you use your own. Let's say this is within like financial services or something. Still like, okay, we're providing people capital to make their dreams come true, right? So by doing this, you're helping us achieve that goal. Now a person has some of that motivation, and you keep going until you hit the thing that motivates them. You can ask them questions too, you can have a conversation, right? And then you keep them accountable in a kind way, right? So rather than punishment, we reward positive behaviors, we ask nicely. The same stuff you do inside, you can practice on yourself and notice what gets your body energized. Oh, when I said that line, I felt energized. Let's see if it works on my team or not, right? So that's what I would recommend. I actually do this for individuals, corporate, etc. So you can also bring someone in, right, to give a talk. So you don't have to be like, sometimes there's a conflict of interest if you're the person being like, hey, be kind to yourself, but I'm your boss. Sometimes it works, right? Sometimes not. And also role modeling. Like if you show that you treat yourself with kindness and you do your work, you're role modeling to people, oh, we can have work-life balance and achieve our work and feel good in this environment and get promotions. Like, why wouldn't they want to, right? Like their identity is tied to it, their pay, their sense of pride. So did that give you some ideas? Yeah? Okay. Okay, great. Are there any other questions? Yeah.
I have struggled with disorganization and cleanliness my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of great qualities, those are not two of them. And I've done everything. I've done the self-help. I've done talking kindly, trying to make it more exciting, putting on music, many things. And I continue to struggle with it. And I make excuses and trade-offs. And so how does your approach differ to something like that versus circumstantial?
Absolutely. So this is like, cleanliness and over the long term. You can keep the mic if you don't mind. Yeah, thank you. Because I'd be curious about what is going on, right? And maybe this is something we need to explore outside of here, but let's try. So what do you think is coming up for you when you're faced with that, whatever task you don't like?
I think for me, I don't have that natural eye for organization and cleanliness. And when I try to put everything together, it doesn't come out how I like it to. And so I find myself wasting time is what it feels like. And I don't have the outcome that I wanted or that I pictured. And so it's discouraging. And then I think of, I kind of make the trade-off, well, I do really well with work and I work my butt off to afford to maybe have someone come help me do it. Yet I still haven't done that. But so I kind of make these trade-offs and try to work my way through it. But yeah, just kind of discouraged. It's just, I've tried to develop that skill and it's just not something that I have or really find joy in, to be honest.
Very relatable for me I want to be open about that. And this has helped me with that. So one, there's no shame in getting that help. Also, like, not everybody's going to be all about cleanliness, and that's fine too. I did hear the one thing that I maybe heard is that there's an expectation of the way that it needs to look, right? And is there that, when we talked about failure and being prepared for failure, there might be a bit of that where there's a really high expectation that immediately that first time you do it, it will look X way, right? But it might be a journey for you. Like, I understand you have a certain way that you want things to look, so it's great, you already have a vision. And it may be like a gradual journey. And I wonder if you softened like the way that you treat yourself at the end, like that no matter what, like you did a minute of cleaning and you're just like, great, that was the goal. I did some amount. Perfect. I moved that cup from here to there and that was great. I wonder how that would shift your relationship with it, because I also had tried everything, but it was really when I like found the kind treatment to myself while doing it, like a treat. It's like a break. Oh, I have all this stress the rest of the time. Well, this is simple. This is just me doing this task alone and me being nice to myself for no reason. That's when it shifted things. But if you have at the tail end, you're like, well, that's not good enough. That can, erase what you did up to that. So I think that moment, I wonder if you could experiment with being your way of being kind to yourself during that moment. And then also, if you're working a lot and you're busy and you're stressed, just get somebody to help you. It's fine. And they may organize things and then you'll see, oh, I like the way they did it. And then that might make it easier too. Does that resonate?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. Thank you for the question. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming. My contact info was on here. Again, I do individual coaching. I do group stuff, team stuff, corporate, startup, whatever it is. I've worked in different types of environments, so you're always welcome to reach out if you have any questions. And I hope you enjoy your day. I hope this is useful to you. Okay, thanks so much.
Let's hear it for Olisia. That was really cool. Thank you.